Good evening, Star Wars fans. Tonight isn't about defending one side or attacking another. It's not about Disney versus Lucasfilm or sequel fans versus original trilogy purists. This is something that I am calling the Star Wars State of the Union. Because after everything we've seen, the arguments, the outrage, the endless villain chasing, I think it's time we take a step back and ask one simple question. What are we even fighting about anymore? Star Wars has always been more than just movies. It's a story that has shaped generations, inspired creativity, and in my case, strengthened familial bonds and created lasting friendships. But somewhere along the way, we stopped celebrating and started dissecting Star Wars like it was a political debate. And this didn't start with the sequels. And this didn't start with Disney. This goes way back, decades back. Ever since A New Hope changed cinemas forever, the Star Wars fandom has had one strange constant: the need to find someone to blame. It started with the special editions. Fans accused George Lucas of ruining his own masterpiece. Then came the Phantom Menace. The internet was new, message boards were booming, and for the first time, Backlash had a megaphone. People said Lucas could not write dialogue. They mocked Jake Lloyd, a child actor, and they turned their own anger into their own entertainment. And that pattern has repeated itself with every era since. Prequels, sequels, spin-offs. When something doesn't meet our expectations, we don't just critique it, we vilify the person behind it. The modern era of Star Wars just gave that old pattern new faces. For years, Kathleen Kennedy has been the ultimate scapegoat. Every creative choice people didn't like was immediately attributed to her. Every movie delay, every canceled project was pinned to her directly. An entire YouTube empire was built on the basis of anger. These so-called Star Wars fans weren't offering real analysis. They were feeding outrage. Because outrage gets clicks, and clicks get money. And sadly, many fans stopped thinking for themselves. They stopped reading. They stopped researching. And they started parroting the same talking points that they found on YouTube. Now, with the recent revelation that Adam Driver and Steven Soderbergh proposed a movie to Disney to bring back Ben Solo that was reportedly loved by Lucasfilm but not by Disney executives, the blame is shifting once again. Kennedy is no longer the villain in people's minds. You'll see thumbnails saying, maybe we were wrong about Kathleen Kennedy, with people pointing blame at former and current CEO Bob Iger. But here's the thing: Star Wars does not need a villain. We don't need to go from hating George Lucas to hating Kathleen Kennedy to hating Bob Iger, looking at who to crucify next. Because it's never been about one person. It's about how a massive creative property, such as Star Wars, functions within the system that owns it. In a recent essay I did called Understanding Star Wars Leadership and Creative Dynamics Under Disney, I broke this down in detail, and it's become even more relevant today. Lucasfilm, under Kathleen Kennedy, develops the creative side, story ideas, directors, scripts, and early production works. But before anything can go forward, it needs Disney's approval. Final green lights, movie budgets, release schedules. Those all come from Disney executives and ultimately gets the final approval from the CEO. So when Adam Driver says his movie was loved by Lucasfilm, but not by the Disney executives, that's not surprising. That's how the structure operates. Kathleen Kennedy can champion projects all day long, but if corporate leadership sees it as a financial risk, it doesn't happen. And that's the tension. Art versus corporation. Storytelling versus shareholders. This isn't unique to Star Wars. It's every major movie franchise. But because Star Wars, in my opinion, has the most passionate fans in film, the backlash hits harder and it lasts longer. We've spent so long looking for someone to blame that we've stopped looking in the mirror. We say things like, we didn't ask for this. No one wanted that movie. But no one asked George Lucas to make Star Wars in the first place. He made it because he believed in it, because he had something to say. That's what real art is. It's not built from a checklist of what fans want. It's born from imagination and risk. And that's what we've lost in this modern fandom. Instead of curiosity, we've built echo chambers. Instead of discussion, we've built outrage machines. Instead of gratitude for a near 50-year-old franchise that is still going strong, we act like we're entitled for it to continue. Let's be honest. A lot of this outrage we're seeing, it's not organic. It's manufactured by negativity grifters. People who know exactly what buttons to press and when to press it to keep you angry. They don't want Star Wars to get better. They want discourse, because discourse in Star Wars makes sure that they stay profitable. They'll tell you what to think. They'll tell you who to hate and why everything's ruined. All while never doing research, never reading the interviews, and never acknowledging nuance. And look, you don't have to like every single decision that Disney or Lucasfilm makes. That's not the point. But you owe it to yourself as a fan to form your own opinion, to look beyond the thumbnails and the shouting. Because Star Wars deserves a thoughtful conversation. It deserves better than algorithm-fed outrage. As Din Djarin says, this is the way. This is the way forward. We start by remembering what brought us here in the first place. Love. Love for the stories. Love for the characters. Love for the worlds. And for the people we get to share them with. Star Wars has given us more than movies. It's given us moments. The kind you'll remember for a lifetime. You'll always remember the first time you heard a lightsaber ignite. You'll always remember the first time the Falcon jumped to light speed, and the first time you felt that spark of hope. And that's what we should be protecting, not tearing down. The next time something in Star Wars doesn't land for you, don't rush to find someone to hate. Ask why, and ask, what can I learn from it? Art doesn't always give us what we want, and nor is it entitled to do so. Sometimes it'll give us what we need. And this is my call to the Star Wars fandom. Star Wars has survived for nearly 50 years because it dares to adapt. It evolves. It experiments. We don't need another villain. What we need is perspective. We need to understand that creativity isn't a straight line, and leadership in a franchise this massive is always shared and never singular. And most of all, we need to stop letting negativity define what it means to be a fan. Being a fan should bring joy. Being a fan should bring imagination. And being a fan should bring curiosity. That's what Star Wars has taught us from the very beginning. That even in the darkest times, hope endures. So remember this the next time someone asks you, who ruined Star Wars? Tell them no one did. Because as long as we're still watching, as long as we're still debating, as long as we are still caring this much, Star Wars is never ruined. It's alive. I might even argue, and I will argue, that Star Wars is more alive today than ever before. This has been your Star Wars State of the Union. Thank you for listening, thank you for caring, and thank you for continuing to find hope. May the Force be with you always.